Hello, we are group 7 of week 11. My name is Kayla Stratford and my group member's name is William McGee. Our topic this week was sports material, culture, and festive styles. So my name is Kayla Stratford. My hometown is Mobile, Alabama. I moved here in 2014. I am a senior graduating in May of 2021, and my majors I have three majors because I'm an interdisciplinary study major is where you pick three minors. And my minors are construction management, business, and leadership. I chose these majors because I do love construction and I've worked in construction in the past. And I realized that you need both business management skills as well as leadership to be successful within construction.
My name is William McGee. I'm from Baton Rouge. I'm a senior. I graduate in December, and I major in history, and I'm a history major basically just because I'm a nerd and history is my favorite subject. Yeah.
So for this week, I didn't have a video. I actually had an article, and my article was Michael Jordan's Leap the Great Divide. Sorry, my picture is in front of the words. The article was written in 1990 on November 11th by John E. Weidman. So when we first think about Michael Jordan, we automatically think of the meme crying face in old movies such as Space Jam and his famous pictures that I have attached to my first slide. But who is Michael Jordan really? So Michael Jordan is a basketball player, as we all know, but he's taken basketball to a whole new level from when he originally started. He exceeds the expectations of himself and fans. Michael Jordan started playing basketball at the age of 12, and that's when he realized that he could do a lot of things physically on the court that other kids and even adults around his neighborhood could not. He loved competition, which is different because a lot of people, they tell you that they love the game, they just love being in the atmosphere, but he actually values the competition. He believes he plays with creativity and could do the impossible, which technically he did prove to do because when Michael Jordan first came out, he was doing a lot of tricks and movements that other players could not actually do. Playing on the college level. So what we've probably all learned is that the skills that we originally had before college, now they've kind of heightened with our college education. And that's something Michael Jordan noticed as well. So Michael Jordan attended North Carolina. He won the national championship in 1982. In college, he started to realize that the game was more mental and not just physical. He wanted to outthink other players. And basically, with him realizing that it was more mental and not physical, he realized that no matter how good of a player he was, he would have to become mentally strong in order to learn how to think above other players because to be on top, you have to see things before they happen. I know in my field in construction, I have to predict the bad before it happens to be able to avoid bad situations. And I think that's what he means. He mentally prepares himself and thinks how the other player plays so that he knows how to be better than that opponent. College basically helped him strengthen all his original skills. So his hobbies consist of jazz, which was different to me because I just would have thought he preferred blues or rap. And he actually stated that he could do without rap because that is not one of his favorites. Something that I thought was unique about it is that he views basketball not as a sport or a hobby, but he actually thinks of it as an art. And I thought that was pretty special. So, Black stereotypes. We have learned in this class that there's different types, but I think Black stereotypes in sports is something that is different opposed to other Black stereotypes. And I think it's like that because of people like Michael Jordan. A lot of people think Black people, when it comes to professionalism and stuff like that, won't do well. But when it comes to sports, we automatically assume that most Black men can play basketball or football. So, what Michael Jordan did, he chose not to focus on the stereotypes that was around him back then. He chose to exceed them. He didn't limit himself as a Black man. He chose to just go for what he wanted. He defeated the odds and made Black kids have someone to look up to. He just became an all around role model. He made a living doing exactly what he loved. This living, it he was able to create brands. People still buy his shoes. I don't because I think they're fairly overpriced, but a lot of people buy his shoes. He still gets endorsements and he does a lot of things for children. He still sponsors kid camps, and I think that's something special. So, my partner William will go more in about Black basketball.
So the article I had was The Black and White Truth About Basketball by Jeff Greenfield. And this article was originally written in 1975, but the one we're looking at was one he updated in 1984. Now, by 1984, Black dominance in the league was very apparent. Uh, the NBA was indisputably dominated by Black athletes. Even 23 of the last 25 league MVPs for Black players. So it's very clear who were the top performers in the league. The NBA was making a lot of headway in terms of diversity for professional sports in the United States. They were the first professional sports league to have a Black general manager. That was Wayne Embry, they hired at the Bucks, or to have a Black head coach, with Bill Russell being hired by the Boston Celtics. And by 1984, the white players that you did see mostly had bench roles or support roles that were really just there to preserve the image of racial balance. Here we have some examples of the rising dominance of Black athletes in the NBA. Pictured in the bottom right, we have the New York Knicks, who in the late 70s had the very first all-Black roster in the NBA. And when questioned on the decision, the head coach just said, when trying to decide the roster, they only took the best players. He didn't care who it was. And that was a monumental moment for American sports. On the left in the black and white photo, we see Wilt Chamberlain, who was the head coach of the Boston Celtics, who was the first Black head coach in American sports history. And then in the top right, we have now named Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, previously going by Lou Alcindor when he won MVP to represent the dominance of Black athletes and the overwhelming majority of MVPs they were winning at that time. Now, this is really just a natural inheritance. Basketball is historically the most popular sport of poor urban youth in the United States of America. That primarily has to do with the accessibility of basketball. It doesn't require purchasing any equipment. You don't have to buy pads like football. You don't have to buy skates or anything. You just need to be able to make something round like a ball and then find a hoop to put it in. You can put it on a tree, on a house, on a garage, anything. It began as a popular game among Irish and Italian Catholics in New York and the Jewish population in the Bronx. But as we saw the rise of Black populations and low-income urban areas, we also saw a rise in a new wave of basketball, and we saw a new philosophy emerge as Black people from the inner cities really just took basketball and made it their own and took it to a new level. Now, these diverging philosophies became known as black ball and white ball. And the black ball was named after the influence of urban culture that had become apparent in the styles of play that had emerged with the rise of black players in the NBA. And both styles were very much influenced by their respective cultures and was reflected in their styles of play. Now, black ball was defined by the use of incredible athletic skill to adapt to the limited space allowed on the court. It involved a lot of use of deception, which was essential if you lived a tough life in a low-income area in the inner cities. Um, which was just heavily influenced by difficulties faced by people in low-income areas. It also provided an environment to have a stress release and to express individualism by finding a way to deceive, get around, and just beat someone. Um, One of the key influences that I found very interesting was the incorporation of finding individual rhythm or leaping and jumping over people, just using straight personal ability rather than relying on everyone else around you or trying to be a cog in a machine. Someone can just go in and do it themselves because they have their own personal rhythm, their own personal groove to the game. Uh, some notable players for revolutionizing this style of play would be Julius Erving, who we see on the left dunking over Celtics great Larry Bird. And then on the bottom, we have Bob Cousy, who's another Celtics player. Then another notable player was Moses Malone, who also played for the Sixers with Julius Erving. Now, white ball was basically just defined by the pulverization of the limited space on the court by sheer intensity. You didn't have to be very athletic to do this at all. It really just required being able to be bigger and out hustle the opponent and just grind and wear the opponent down. It was systematic to a fault to where anyone who was an archetypal black ball player just felt restricted and felt like they couldn't express themselves and couldn't find any freedom on the court. And it ended up not just not going well together and causing some friction. The running forward is considered the archetypal white ball player. They're just tall. And they can run from end of the court all game, and they power through opponents. And that's basically all it takes. They're just another cog in the machine. And they react to any obstacle just by overpowering or outrunning. And that basically makes up our presentation and shows the influence that Black culture has had on the game of basketball and continues to have as the game continues to move forward and be a front runner in the ever-going fight for diversity. I almost said inclusivity again.